We want to go home too, and we want to go home to our families knowing, if we are carrying something, what is it? And this bill will allow that to happen quickly.
The thing I really appreciated in terms of the legislative response, first of all, I appreciate your leadership on this because everyone I talked to, this seemed to be common sense. I appreciate when the legislators listen, they take our input, but they also help us update the laws in really necessary ways that at the end of the day are uncontroversial. And it just takes somebody being willing to listen, craft a solution, and ultimately I think this was a very nice piece of bipartisan legislation that we put forward.
We had some very good legislation passed, and emergency testing for criminal defendants and certain diseases. And I'm here today with Ozaukee County Sheriff Christy Knowles and Ozaukee County District Attorney Ben Lindsay. Would you like to introduce yourself and give me a little background of
Sure.
yourself?
I've been with the Sheriff's Office for 27 years. I've held many positions, starting in the jail as a jail deputy, patrol deputy, detective, before becoming a lieutenant captain, under sheriff, and now sheriff. So I've been for the last 4 years in this role. Personally, I have 3 children at home. 2 of them are adult age, still at home, and 1 is almost adult age, so pretty soon all 3 adult children.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit about me.
All right.
I've been a prosecutor since 2012. First 6 years of my career were in Milwaukee County. I came up to Ozaukee in 2018. I spent 6 years as an assistant DA here, and then I ran for DA, and I've been district attorney for almost 2 years.
The idea for the bill came through your office?
Yes,
Right?
it started, from what I remember, it was 2023, we had an officer-involved shooting. The case entailed a warrant service for a subject with an ICAC, Internet Crimes Against Children case. And we set up to do that, and I had 2 detectives that were making entry into the home. Once the suspect realized what was going on, he grabbed a large knife and really turned towards officers, and then they reacted, and it was a use of force incident. And during the struggle, one of the detectives got cut with the knife, while another detective used deadly force shot. The suspect, didn't kill him, but there were a lot of blood. So in the midst of putting handcuffs on and getting the suspect the medical care he needed, the other detective noticed that he was cut by the knife, bleeding, and there was a cross-contamination of the blood. And the district attorney at the time, Adam Garrell, he brought this up about strengthening this law that was currently on, that we have, but it's a little bit more specific than what this one is, and that's kind of how it started. And then Ben took over and took it from there.
Okay. This is something that has been needed for a long time. When I took office, right before he left, one thing now Judge Garrell said was he passed on some of the information he had that had come up during this incident, and had said, hey, if you can, keep pushing this one forward. This is a really specific example that the sheriff brings up, but the reality is it's something much more common in terms of an officer is searching a vehicle or a purse or a bag, and there's a syringe in there. And if it's a used syringe, or even if it's not, the possibility of cross-contamination in terms of if they're pricked or stuck by that needle, they then have to deal with, am I being exposed to some sort of potential illness or injury just because of something routine during my job? And we could probably give dozens of other examples, individual with mental health issues who bit a law enforcement officer, right? Same situation there. The medical status of the individual who injures the officer is suddenly very important for that officer's personal well-being.
One of the challenges during testimony was and question and answer was the constitutional rights of the defendant. And so that's accounted for in this bill also, correct?
It is, and there's a couple things that I think the bill does very well. First of all, in order to comply with the Fourth Amendment, it needs to meet a probable cause threshold and a finding by a judge, and this bill does both of those things. The other thing is it also protects patient privacy, in that the officer's privacy is protected, but also the suspects.
Right.
The only reason for the testing here is so that the officer can determine whether or not they need to undergo a pretty intense round of antiretroviral treatment. But it's not something that the prosecutor even gets as evidence, right? So it's not, if it's a normal search warrant, if it's a blood drawn on OWI, well, that goes to law enforcement, then it comes to the DA to be used as evidence against the person. The only purpose here is to make sure that the officer can make an informed decision about what medical treatment to seek. Once the testing's done, it actually provides that it's not part of the suspect's medical records, and it's not shared with anyone beyond the officer that was injured.
Thank you very much for coming to testify in Madison, because I think I did a pretty good job, but you definitely sealed the deal.
We want to go home too, and we want to go home to our families knowing, you know, if we are carrying something, what is it? And this bill will allow that to happen quickly. It's expedited, and then it'll allow the officer or the deputy to make that decision to go on antiviral medication. There's a lot in place here that this new law will help expedite things so we can make the proper decision.
One of the big benefits to this bill in terms of the time frame, the old law required charges to be issued, and when the law enforcement would request the communicable disease testing, it would be set for a hearing to coincide with the preliminary hearing, which can be weeks after the fact. And it was, the timeframes laid out in the statute did not correspond to medical necessity, and it was so unworkable, I don't even know a situation where it was used.
Right.
And officers just ended up making a decision blind about, okay, do I do this course of treatment, or do I do it without knowing, or do I just roll the dice and wait to see if there's a complication? The thing I really appreciated in terms of the legislative response, I mean, first of all, I appreciate your leadership on this, because everyone I talked to, this seemed to be common sense. This is one of those things where when you talk to law enforcement who are in the field every day, and you talk to prosecutors who are in the courtroom, sometimes the statutes just don't fit the circumstances we're dealing with. And I appreciate when the legislators listen, they take our input, but they also help us update the laws in really necessary ways that at the end of the day are uncontroversial. And it just takes somebody being willing to listen, craft a solution, and ultimately I think this was a very nice piece of bipartisan legislation that we put forward.
Well, thank you, and it's really great to be able to be part of that, to get something good done for everyone, but especially for our first responders.